Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, the best source for Second Amendment news on the planet. My humble opinion. Shameless self-promotion. If you're not subscribed and you're interested in the constant attack we are facing as a Second Amendment enthusiast, gun owner, competitive shooter, hunter, what have you. If you want to know what's really going on, subscribe to this channel. If you know somebody who is in the same category as us, send them this channel. They need to subscribe as well. The more we know, the better off we're going to be moving forward. Something very concerning, actually two things, have happened in New York within the last week that are extremely concerning for gun owners. Let's get into this. The first one, remember there are two, so you're going to want to watch this whole video. The first thing is that the New York Daily News had made a request to the New York Police Department for them to furnish the paper with all the names, zip codes, and the class of license or the category of gun license that those people had that got their licenses in 2018. Now, I am not a fan of that type of information being public. There's no need for it. Before I get into that, let's more facts on this, okay? So, New York, if you're not familiar with it, they have what's called the New York SAFE Act. It is a huge gun control bundle of laws all in one. And under the New York SAFE Act, it says, quote, names and addresses of all firearms licenses were public information. Also under the SAFE Act, gun owners have the ability to opt out of their information being handed over in Freedom of Information Act requests. But just because you apply does not mean it's approved. Your application, in order for your information to be withheld, has to be approved. Now, the newspaper know this. Usually the anti-gunners know what they're doing. And they asked for all of the names of anybody who got a gun license in 2018 that were not opted out of the Freedom of Information Act request. And that is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because why would the Daily News need this? There's no need for them to know who you are, where you live, and what kind of gun you own. None. What happens if they dox people, gun owners? Now we have to live in constant fear of, these protests or rioters, all this civil unrest. Pay attention to what's going on around the country right now. They're going to put out a list of names, maybe? Why else would they need this information? Well, they say because their reporters frequently cover gun-related stories, political issues, and policing issues, that they should be able to have this information. Now, to their credit, the New York City Police Department, they denied this request multiple times, citing things like it's an invasion of privacy or it would take an extraordinary effort for them to get all this information and supply it to the newspaper. What they did do to try to quell the request without giving up names was that they gave the New York Daily News the types of permits that were issued by zip code from January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2017, but they did not hand over any names. So they just gave them zip codes. Like people in this zip code, there's 300 people with a license. That might be a stretch for New York City, but that's the information that they gave them. Pretty bland, nothing really identifying. Then the New York Daily News, they weren't satisfied with that information. They wanted names of people. So they appealed this to the courts, and the NYPD then had to provide a list of 132 names for people who attempted to opt out, but their application was denied. Then the anti-gun New York Daily News weren't happy with that either because the NYPD didn't tell them specifically what kind of firearms license was possessed, meaning what type of guns did these people have. So this went all the way to the New York State Supreme Court. And this decision was made a couple days ago. I'll have a link down below so you can read this decision if you really want to. It's terrible, but it was made, and the NYPD was forced to furnish all of the information that these crazy loons at the New York Daily News were looking for, because under the SAFE Act it says anybody who hasn't opted out and been approved, their information is public record. In fact, I'll read you a little snippet of the court order just in case you don't want to read the whole thing yourself. It says, absent the SAFE Act exemption, the respondent must submit, that's the NYPD, must submit the following information to the petitioner, being the New York Daily News. The license category and zip code of members of service who were licensed during calendar year 2018, either by renewal or for the first time they were issued the license. Be submitted, all this information must be submitted to them. Now, members of service, I'm taking maybe that's military and law enforcement. I am not 100% sure, but it's definitely different than the average person that has a license, because the court continued, says the respondent may withhold their names. And then it says the respondent must also give to the petitioner the name, zip code, and license category of those whom it granted a new or renewal license during calendar year 2018. This information covers all licenses who applied prior to calendar year 2018 but were granted a license during that year. So if you applied in 17 and got your license in 18, or if you got your gun license in 2018 at all, and unfortunately your application to opt out was not approved, or if you're not a member of service, then the New York Daily News now has your personal information. That's dangerous. What if this leaks out? We all know how secure stuff is, especially with the liberal people. They want all that information out. All I will say is that if you are a person in New York and you got your license in 2018, you need to really focus on your safety right now. Have your head on a swivel, watch your six. Who knows what they have this information for, but the only thing it can do is draw negative attention to you. So please take care of yourself. It is imperative. This needs to get to everybody in New York City who either has a license in 2018 or applied and received it in 2018, renewal or new. So please pass it along. There's a lot of people in New York. I know they don't give out a lot of permits or licenses, but those people who do need to be aware of this. Again, I will have a link down below to the decision. The judge's name is Arthur F. Engoron, Engoron. Links down below. Now, I said that there were two very concerning things that happened in New York. We just discussed New York City. Now let's move to New York as a whole, the entire state. The New York State Senate has passed the Jose Webster Untraceable Firearms Act, which is also being called the nation's toughest ghost gun law. It has just made its way through the New York Senate. Obviously, there's two chambers in every legislature. The New York Senate side, it was S7763. And in the General Assembly side, it's A9903. I'll have a link down below if you want to read it. There's a lot of stuff in this bill, so I want to read from it here. Little excerpts. You can read the entire thing if you want. But what this bill does, it will prohibit the sale and possession of ghost guns and ensures that law enforcement will be able to track the manufacture and sale of all guns in New York. It also defines a ghost gun as any firearm, rifle, or shotgun that isn't serialized and registered in accordance with either state or federal law. You should be thinking already on that right there. Also would prohibit possession of ghost guns by anyone but a licensed gunsmith. It would also prohibit the sale of ghost guns entirely. Prohibit the manufacture or assembly of a firearm, rifle, or shotgun by anyone other than a licensed gunsmith. Now, one would argue that this could be a gun ban, considered a gun ban, right? And according to DC versus Heller, they can't ban a class of guns. So, like I said, ripe for the fight. Also, would require a New York gunsmith to serialize all firearms, rifles, shotguns, or unfinished frames or receivers that they manufacture or assemble, and to register any such gun, frame, or receiver that isn't otherwise covered by federal serialization law with the Division of State Police. Registry. New York registry. Now, part of their way to say that this is okay and this needs to be done for the people, for the safety, for the children, is that they say this. During the COVID-19 crisis, gun violence has spiked. Actually, it's because you guys have defunded the police and nobody's getting charged, and New York has that no bail program now. So you do a violent crime, they don't collect bail, they just let you out, and you do something again. And that's the fact, Jack. Not gun violence has spiked. It's crime and criminal activity has spiked because you've gone full-blown retard. You've gone full liberal. Sorry. They continue. So has sales of firearms and ghost guns. At the beginning of the pandemic, gun manufacturers reported massive sales of ghost gun kits. At least 16 manufacturers told customers they were experiencing shipping delays due to high volume of orders. This month, the FBI reported there were 3.9 million background checks in the month of June, a record high. In June, a 22-year-old man was arrested in Troy, New York, after illegally carrying a ghost gun. So because this one guy got jammed up for carrying an unregistered, unserialized firearm, everybody must pay. This is what this nation has become because we don't vote. This is it. Everybody pays for the actions of one when this country was founded on the other way around. Now, like I said, this comes on the heels of the lawsuit that the New York State Attorney General Letitia James had that now 17 companies, some 17 websites can no longer sell what they'd say ghost gun parts in New York. So now if you assemble or manufacture an upper, a lower, or anything that they consider a ghost gun, you will face up to a $5,000 fine, and of course they're going to throw you in the clink. New York's not the only state going after ghost guns. But rest assured, if we don't pull together as a group, those of us who love our rights, our freedom, not only just the Second Amendment, our freedom as a whole, if we don't pull together and do what needs to be done, we're going to have some trouble. It's time for them to go in many states, this one included. All right, folks, I hope that this information has brought you up to date with what's going on in New York. And I guarantee it's coming to a city and state near you. Please subscribe to Guns and Gadgets. This is where you're going to find all of the Second Amendment news, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. Please like the video and share the video. And until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a weapon. Take care, everybody.